Next speaker is Harold Save.
Mr. Mayor and Honorable Commissioners, we celebrate today the anniversary of the real Tea Party of December 16th, 1773, when the people fought back against financial tyranny against the ruling class. Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth now has 12,000 signatures demanding a new investigation of the mass murders of 9/11-2001. Gators 9/11 Truth has joined Richard Gage's organization as a regional action group. We have online meetup site where anyone can join us who's interested in justice. People are seeking justice, Mr. Mayor. Americans now living a life predicted by Naomi Klein in her book, The Shock Doctrine, The Rise of Disaster Capitalism. Ponzi schemes, credit default swaps, worthless securities, legalized fraud, windfall profits from planned disasters. People who once believed 9/11 was a terrorist attack by a man in a cave are having second thoughts. They're beginning to wake up. They're asking questions and getting answers, solid answers about scientific proof that explosives were used to destroy the Twin Towers and Building 7. Proof that the FBI cannot debunk yet today. Too many of the newly enlightened are the families of soldiers who have paid the ultimate price, tragically, to profit an international banking cartel and the Federal Reserve. In the 9 years since 9/11, Americans have been repeatedly betrayed by elected officials. The criminal behavior of the banksters who turned Americans' retirement savings from 401ks to 201ks was rewarded when the President and the Congress supported the banksters instead of the victims, their own constituents. Betrayal when the government and the 9/11 Commission failed to hold a single person accountable for the 9/11 disaster. Later, members of the 9/11 Commission admitted they had been set up to fail. What? Set up to fail? The one single investigation into the 9/11 mass murders that sent America into 2 illegal wars, torture, Abu Ghraib, failed? This leaves the American people with no investigation, no justice. Of the biggest unsolved crime of mass murder and pretext for war in American history, Mr. Mayor, this is not acceptable. The Hurricane Katrina betrayal, where government response for New Orleans canal systems were deliberately set up to fail. It's time for a real Tea Party, Mr. Mayor. It's time to end the war. It's time for a new investigation of 9/11. Let's roll.
The next speaker is Bob Tuskin.
Good evening. Mayor Craig Lowe here in the city of Gainesville, Florida, has gotten a lot of slack lately over hiring his campaign manager, was it?
Please continue your comments.
And because of that, I'd like to make a few comments. Now, I'm not here to ask you to resign for that reason, although I think I want you to resign for reasons I'll get into in just a moment. Mayor Craig Lowe, first and foremost, I'd like to say thank you for all the work you've done for the city of Gainesville and the community here. I also want to say that in conjunction with your oath to the Constitution of the United States of America, I think it's important that I highlight that for a moment, and we'll get back to that in just a little bit. But first, to recap a little bit about the local controversy about him hiring his campaign manager or whatever it was. You know, this sort of cronyism, from what I understand, and the clerk commissioner of the commission should be able to answer these questions, and from what I understand, Kurt has a great background as a clerk of the commission, and I approve of him doing the right thing in this case. Make a long story short, it's against the rules, so you weren't allowed to hire him, and then you sent it to some committee in which you headed yourself. I want to remind the viewers out there that here in the city of Gainesville, from what I understand, the mayor's role is no stronger than any of the commissioners. It's a soft mayor system. And I was sitting down with the former mayor of Gainesville the other day talking a little bit about going back to just 5 commissioners. I think it's a great idea, and he concurred. But Mayor Craig Lowe, I'm here today to ask you to resign because of penalty of crimes of treason of misprison. Okay? If I was equipped with the right paperwork, I'd ask you to turn yourself in right this second. Okay? This is crimes to humanity and will not be tolerated. We need you to take a stance. I've notified you about treason and misprision, and you've refused to acknowledge these issues. What am I to do? But sit in here and rant and tell you, you need to turn yourself in or you need to act about this. We've asked you several times to comment. You've ignored us. You've stonewalled this issue. The least you can do is respond to my statement today. The least you can do. Make a statement, tell us, stop talking to you about fluoride and 9/11 truth and the chemtrails being sprayed in the air that we all breathe. Tell us to go away. We never want to hear about your truth any longer. We don't like the conspiracies. Tell us something. But we're not going to sit here and let you smirk at us and ignore us and do all these things. Okay, so Mayor Craig Lowe, folks, for those of you watching at home, he shouldn't resign because he hired his campaign manager. He should resign because he refuses to address serious issues of public concern for the citizens of Gainesville and the entire world. Mayor Craig Lowe, please resign or turn yourself into the proper officials.
The next speaker is Ed Reyes.
Mayor, Commissioners, it's good to see you again. Good to see you during the weekend. Came out to support from Gainesville with love for Haiti, sister city Jacmel. And they sent support of all kinds. They go down there and do construction, and it was good to see the mayor there supporting that. And it demonstrates that Gainesville sometimes reaches outside of Gainesville. So sometimes we have to reach to New York. And I brought a petition from political leaders for 9/11 Truth. And this time I'm going to stick around afterwards and hope for a reply from every single one of you, actually, because you're all listed in the last page. And I would like to hear a reply as to why you will or won't sign this petition for a new criminal investigation for the events of September 11th, which reads like so. Whereas the Bush-Cheney administration public interpretation of the 9/11 attacks has had radical, largely negative consequences for the United States of America and the world as a whole, and whereas the official investigations of these attacks that have been carried out thus far were led by individuals closely aligned with or even employed by the Bush-Cheney administration, clearly referring to the 9/11 Commission, and whereas the conclusions of these investigations differ radically from those that have been reached by independent researchers of various kinds of professional expertise, and whereas organizations organizations of such researchers, including architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth, which we support here with Gainesville 9/11 Truth, firefighters for 9/11 Truth, lawyers for 9/11 Truth, pilots for 9/11 Truth, religious leaders for 9/11 Truth, scholars for 9/11 Truth and Justice, veterans for 9/11 Truth, and political leaders for 9/11 Truth, obviously. And I'm hoping one of you will step up, at least one. You won't even look me in the eye. Whereas we believe it is long past time for political leaders to heed these calls. Therefore, we, the undersigned members of political leaders for 9/11 Truth, asked President Barack Obama to authorize a new, truly independent investigation to determine what happened on 9/11. I remind you, there comes a time when silence is betrayal.
Your time,
Martin Luther
your time
King.
has ended.
Silence is betrayal.
Next speaker is Dan Dvorak.
Good evening. I'm going to mention a few words that's in the news day after day over the last few months. Naked body scanners, sexual groping of passengers, millions of cameras situated all over every city. I think London has 3 million cameras all by itself. Laptop computers that watch you. Total Awareness Information Network where everything you say or do or is all recorded and passed on. All of these things, collapse of the dollar, we're in danger of losing our sovereignty. They're going to be throwing the Constitution away in favor of something, some new world order or whatever. But all of these things have their roots firmly in the ground from 9/11. 9/11 needs to be investigated for the first time, for real. And when it is, and when the evidence and subpoena power will clearly reflect that it was a hoax, then all of the things that came as a result of that hoax can be dealt with and suspended, reversed. What I'm asking you to do is to possibly whatever you can, starting with that petition that gentleman just talked about. Whenever it's possible that you can interject or be part of something to say, hey, you know, we really haven't had we really don't know what happened on that day. And it is spread, and the consequences have spread so far and wide, it seems like now it'd be a really good time to find out, but before it's totally too late. And the other thing is possibly maybe you can make Gainesville into not only a free speech zone, but bring back some of the laws that they've trampled on and just have them for a city law, like citywide posse comitatus. There's absolutely no reason that the military needs to be doing police action. There was a reason that they prohibit them from doing that. Nothing's changed. So it's for you, and it's for your children and your children's children. This isn't just for me. I'm going to be long dead when the effects of 9/11 are still being felt by our children. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
And I will say without any doubt of being contradicted by anyone with facts, that you have done nothing, if not well and faithfully uphold your duties under the Constitution of the United States, the state of Florida, and for the citizens of this city. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Commissioner Wells. It's an honor to serve with you. Is there any other member of the City Commission that would like to speak to an item raised during citizen comment?
What he said.
Thank you. Thank you. Seeing no further lights, Mr. Clerk, the next item.
Why not any further lights, guys? That's the day. I stayed for a comment.
Actually, you're out of order. I'm asking for that you maintain order. Okay.
But I was supposed to get a reply.
Actually, I'm recognizing Commissioner Mastroda-Caza.
Eddie, I've known you a long time. I will give you my response, my personal response, and, you know, we are obligated to respond to citizen comment. Honestly, if we spent time every time talking to every citizen comment, that we'd never get to our agenda. I have reviewed materials that you have submitted. I've reviewed other materials that have been submitted. At the end of the day, I'm not convinced there's enough for me personally to support any sort of petition. On the other hand, I don't think if all of us believed it and said, you guys know exactly what's going on, we would make very little difference in the big picture. I'm not sure the Gainesville City Commission is the place to go. Even if it was our wildest support, the best letter we could write, I don't think we can make an iota of difference in this issue at all. It's a national issue. It's not a local issue. On the other hand, you have the 3 minutes at citizen comment to expound your opinions. People on TV can see it. You can gather support that way. You can gather support in any other way you can at any public forum. And you have the right to be here and say what you want to do. And I think that's great. At the end of the day, you're not getting my support, but that doesn't mean I don't appreciate the fact that you can come and ask. And you can come every single time if you so choose. Thank you.
Supported by science. So that's good enough for me.
Okay.
Mr. Clerk, the next item.
Page 26.